going on, guys? FliCarGuy with another video. I left my gimbal in my other car, so hopefully the video is not too shaky. This morning I'm gonna get into some stuff that I'll probably be doing a bit more on the channel, like some maintenance and how-tos and kind of general car stuff for people out there that kind of have no idea. So today what we're gonna be doing is going to try to get the rattles and vibrations out of the front end of my daily driver. I haven't really put it on the channel yet, but this is my daily driver. It's a 06 SRT 8 Magnum. Kind of rare. You don't see these too often. They only made them for 2 or 3 years. Well, technically 2 years, 06 and 07, and then 08 they made a few and then stopped it mid-production. Thanks, guy with the cutting drill. But basically, these cars are, well, I guess I'm gonna go inside the car since this guy's making so much noise with that saw. As you can see, the SRT. So yeah, these cars are known like 05 to 2010, 300s and Chargers, and then these Magnums in 05, 06, 07, they're known to have front end problems. It's a horrible design in the front. Car's heavy, you get a lot of worn down suspension parts in the front, so like your tie rod ends and your control arms, ball joints, stuff like that. After a while you'll notice the front end starts to feel sloppy. You feel a lot of like shaking or vibration when you go over stuff. So it's just one of those things on these cars that you always have to fix every so often. So I'm gonna be showing you guys that today. So I'll see if I can record a bit here while I'm driving. So what I'm talking about, I don't know if it will pick it up in the video. I'll see when I get to some bumps, but basically when you go over bumps, you'll hear like right now I can hear it, but you probably can't hear it in the video. If you go over bumps, you'll hear like a rattle and kind of like a every time you go over rough surfaces or go over bumps. And sometimes it's hard to figure out because there's so many different suspension parts in these cars in the front, which I'm gonna show once I get it up on the lift. I'm heading to my cousin's shop. He's in Niagara Falls, which is about an hour from me. I go to him because, not only because he's family, but mostly because he's a really great mechanic, and he's the type of guy that treats vehicles like they belong to him. So he's real passionate about what he does, and I can always trust that things are gonna be fixed right, and anything that I wasn't aware of, he's gonna make sure to look over everything and then make sure that gets fixed too, or at least tell me about it so I know. So very trustworthy. And guys, when you have cars, especially older cars, used cars, and you're out of warranty, I don't think there's anything more important than finding or having a good mechanic. They can literally make or break you, or be the difference between being able to afford the car you're in and keep it going and having to get rid of the car, because maintenance on some of these cars can get so expensive now. It's also important to be able to educate yourself a bit. Get on forums, especially when you're looking for used cars. Get on forums and see what kind of common issues certain cars have, so you know what you're getting into. On most forums that I've ever been on, I always get, anytime I'm gonna buy a car, I always go on a forum that specializes in that car, like sometimes even a year ahead of me ever getting the car. That way I'm real familiar with what kind of issues the car possesses, because if it's a problem that's prevalent or regular, everybody on the forum is gonna have dealt with it already, and then they can already tell you what it costs. They can even usually suggest a good mechanic in their particular area, and places that you can get parts for cheap, and even brands that they found were best to use and stuff like that. So I think that forums are a really good resource when you're trying to research things about used cars, especially if you've never owned one before or have no idea. So this front end issue, I was aware of it before I got this car. So I expected that every 2 to 3 years, depending on how hard I was driving the car, how much kilometers I was doing a year, I was expecting that I'd always have to be doing certain parts on the suspension, and that would be just part of it. So I made sure to look up how much it cost and stuff like that, so I know, okay, every time I should have at least $500 or $700 set aside every so often to be able to refresh the front end to get everything tight again. So that's just a little word of advice. Same thing I did with the Maserati. I know that maintenance on that car can be astronomical. So I definitely made it a point to get onto the forum that specializes in that car and find out. That's how I found out what year to get, common issues, what stuff I should be looking for when I was looking for a used one, signs to stay away from the car. That's why that process took me so long, because first of all, the car is very rare where I'm from. I know some people were saying in my video about the car, oh, what makes it so rare? But you search for a 2013 Maserati Quattroporte in Canada and see what you find. I guarantee zero. But anyways, especially knowing it was rare, it was really hard to find information on Google. So the forum was really the only place where there was a bunch of owners that had the car and had certain issues, and I could get an idea of what worst case scenario was on some of the stuff. So it's a real important thing to do. But yeah, so anyways, I'm gonna get back with you guys when I get to the shop and kind of show the parts and how it comes apart and things that you can look for if you happen to have one of these cars. Like I said, it's considered a LX platform from Chrysler, so that covers your Chrysler 300, your Dodge Magnum, and your Dodge Charger, all from 05 through to like 2010. The Magnum again was only from 05 to 08, my SRT only for a couple of years. And then yeah, I'll show you the parts I bought, where I got them from and stuff like that, because there is a place called rockauto.com. They don't just specialize in parts for these cars, they specialize in parts for a lot of cars. And I find that, especially being here in Canada, even with the taxes and the shipping and everything, they're usually cheaper than even wholesale prices. Even when I get my cousin to look for parts for me at his cost as a mechanic, a lot of times I can get the parts cheaper on the site. So only thing is, it's not as convenient because you have to wait, and if a part is wrong, then you have this process of shipping it all the way back to the US and having to pay for shipping and stuff. So you got to really know what you're ordering. Convenience sake, it is nice to just have a good mechanic that won't rip you off too much on the parts. But yeah, that's it for now. I'll get back to you when I get to the spot. Swipe. JAMTINO Auto Repair. I'm gonna put the address and the link in the description below and all that. Go in here, see what they're working on. Okay, so this is the wheel off. So usually what we're looking at with all the shaky stuff is all of this stuff here will give your wheel play, and you'll hear going over bumps, rattling and shaking and all that stuff. Or when you're braking hard, you might get vibration. And these cars, it's almost always in the suspension. As you can see, there's a bunch of parts, all the tie rods and all these lower arms and upper arms. So we'll get it taken apart and see which ones actually need replacing. These are your upper here that you get vibrations and shakes from as well. So I have a box of stuff here. Hopefully we need it all, we'll see. And hopefully there's nothing missing, because there is a lot of parts. So what you'll notice is the wheel will have a little play in it in different directions depending on what part of the suspension is worn out. So just giving it a little shake around to see what sounds loose. Those sound loose for sure up top. I think we're... See, I'm no expert, but I don't know, you can tell me. That seems like you can feel the play in there, so there, as you can see. I'm not a mechanic, guys. I'm just recording the professionals. Just trying to give you guys a bit of a inside look at the stuff that gets checked and how they determine. You see the wheel is moving around a lot of play on that side, so they'll have to check to see. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was talking about, guys. So when I'm driving, you can feel, it kind of feels like the wheels are dancing around. So it feels like the wheel is dancing around while you're driving, and that's what it is. When some of the suspension is given up, it's no longer holding everything in place properly, so you have things shaking and moving. See that it is the moving like crazy. Tension thread is blown out. See, the one thing I didn't order because it's so expensive. Oh yeah, you can see the gasket is like all torn out. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that whole thing is moving. So the one thing I had in the cart and took out of the cart, I actually need. So that's contributing to all of that movement you're seeing in the wheel here. So we'll see where else in the suspension might be loose and need work.
It's all in that arm.
Yeah. So this one doesn't look like it's moving around as crazy as the driver's side, but it's still looks like something is a bit loose in here.
Yeah, do top and bottom. Let's see if we get any movement on this one here.
You can see it, like you'll see the
let's just play in the bushing itself.
The bushing itself is starting to go out.
That's okay. And left and right. So it's just that upper ball joint.
Yeah.
Top and bottom, you'll see it. Can you top bottom one more time? Yeah, you can feel it up there. Yeah, you can see it moving.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
See that?
So that's from the upper. That's from the upper being bad. So see that movement that they're just doing is from that upper ball joint being bad. So luckily we got those ones.
And that'll knock when you're driving.
Yeah.
Try this side again.
And this is the side that the wheel wants to fall off.
We'll check the upper here. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, good. So that's good. But this tension strut's bad. And I do drive this car hard, so I'm not mad at it. Yeah, I haven't done these for a while, actually.
Yeah.
The old, what do you call this? Upper control arm? Upper control arm and ball joint. I guess that's the ball joint at the end there. That was shaky around giving some play on this other side. There's the new one. This is supposed to be a heavier duty one, so we'll see how heavy duty it is compared. Oh yeah, you can see all of this. It's all worn out. That's the new one. So we'll see how this works out. So there we have the old one that was moving around. As you can see, this is what happens. It gets chewed out in there and it starts to move. And that's the brand new one. So this was the main cause why it was vibrating so much as he was showing earlier. So That's something to look for. That's what it looks like. And what is this one called again? Lower control arm. So that's what it looks like. And that's a bad beaten up one. And that's the brand new one. So I should be good after.
And you can also see how this is pushed out.
Yeah,
Nice
completely out of place.
So it's like completely ripped.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's it. We'll see what happens when it's all done. A lower ball joint, because it had some play right here. So you see tie rod end there, lower ball joint there. That's what we changed on the other side. That strut that goes across. That lower control arm, sorry, that goes across. Here you have the lower ball joint. It's just this little part here that goes on the end of the lower control arm. This one is moving around, so you can see that's not moving at all. So this movement will give you clunks as well. So that's the new piece. It was a bitch to get out. And then, like I said, while we're in here, I'm just gonna do the other side as well, lower control arm, so I don't have to come back to do anything else. This one is still decent for now, but you can see here, I don't know if you can see, the lining starting to come out, so it's an indication of some wear. So eventually, oh, let me see if I can get it, sorry. Right there. So eventually that will wear out. So since we're in here, I'm just gonna change it right now. I already have the new one, just like the other side. And then once we all do this, anytime you get a bunch of suspension work, you also have to get an alignment. So after this, I'll have to go get an alignment. But this should take care. But you can see all of the different parts. Like here's another little tie rod, and all of this stuff can move around, so it's crazy. And I'm replacing the parts. I like to use the Moog parts because they have a lifetime warranty, so they make quality parts, and if they wear out or break, you get to replace them. So that's why I always go with the Moogs when they're available. New upper control arms all in and greased up. Good to go. I actually didn't end up needing all this other crap I bought for now. I will at some point. So I still have my tie rod ends, inner, outer, and the links, the end links for the suspension. That's why it's good to have a good mechanic to check your stuff so that you know the parts you actually need. I was being lazy, so I decided to just buy a bunch of stuff and see what I needed. At some point I'll need it anyway, so I'll just put it away until they wear out and I'll be good to go. So now if you look, you notice it's not rocking around like it was before. The other side, you'll really be able to see how different that is if you remember how much this wheel was moving. So there, now it's nice and tight both ways. So that's it. So if you have a vibrating front end in your 300 Magnum Charger, chances are it's some type of a control arm, or like I showed you, the lower control arms, ball joints, stuff like that.